Hello everyone and welcome to another Howloo Sees It review. This evening I'm reviewing Scarabya, published by Blue Orange Games, designed by Bruno Cathala and Ludovic Maublanc, and illustrated by Sylvain Oblin. I apologize if I've mispronounced any of those names. It is a game for 1 to 4 players, ages 8 and up. I have played this with both of my kids who are both younger than 8. And they play just fine. It is a great little puzzle game. So if you like Patchwork or Cottage Garden or Number 9 or any of those type of games, I think you'll really enjoy this one as well. And if you're unfamiliar with those, and this is kind of your first puzzle type game here, you will see some pieces that will remind you of Tetris. And it's all about managing the space on your boards and in trying to enclose spaces to score points. So let's go ahead and show you what comes in the box and show you how it's played and tell you some of my thoughts. So one of the cool things you can see here on the cover of the game itself is 4 different environments. You have a desert, you have underwater, you have a forest or jungle, and you have a winter terrain as well. So that's the first thing about this game that's pretty cool, is you have all these different artwork and style for the different boards. Okay, now while the styling and artwork is different and to match the different styles, so here's the underwater board at the end of a game here. And so you can see the people in their scuba gear, and they're searching the bottom of the ocean floor here. Well, if you look at the winter pieces, you'll see everyone in their nice warm winter gear. You can see an igloo here. And so it's really kind of interesting and cool. I really like the artwork that they've done on here. And so they kind of keep the same type of illustrations for each of the tiles. So like the plus sign, you can see a tent over there. You can see a green tent here. And then this one, instead of a tent, it's an igloo. But it's very similar. Each player has the exact same shaped tiles. There are 12 of them. And everyone has a outer picture frame type cardboard piece, if you will, that everyone will start with. And then someone is going to basically take these pieces, so each person has, again, the same layout cut out of empty spaces and the layout of scarabs. And someone's going to determine how these are going to be set up for the game. So that person will say, okay, I want to do this, or you can take turns and say, okay, then the next person goes. And as soon as they're all placed, then everyone will set up their board exactly the same way, okay? And then after that, you have these kind of plastic mountain type terrain that you go ahead and put in all of the empty spaces on the map, okay? And the only other setup that you really need, everyone needs to be able to reach the Scarab victory point tokens. So there's some with 1 on them. There's some with 2s on them, 3s and 4s. They're a little bit get a little bit darker as you go. As you can see, the number 4 being the darkest. And so as long as everyone can reach those and they have the board set up exactly the same as everyone else, you're going to go ahead and shuffle this deck of 12 cards, which are simply a picture of one of those 12 pieces. You shuffle those up, someone's going to be kind of the master explorer, and they'll flip over a card. Then everyone's going to take that piece and play it into their board. And so let's see if I can find that piece here quickly. Okay, so this matches up. So I'm going to take this. The very first piece you play needs to cover one of these 4 center squares. And as long as it covers one of those 4, it can cover more than those if you want to. As long as it covers one of those, then you're good. Okay. Then, so for example, for the first round, again, I would not be able to play it over here randomly. It needs to start in the middle. Okay. So once you have played that piece, then you would go ahead and check. Okay, so everyone played that. Okay, looks like we're good. And then you move on to the next one. Flip that one over. Everyone would find that piece. And now you can play anywhere, but you need to be able to touch at least one of the sides. So I'm not going to be able to, for example, I would not be able to play it like that because it is not adjacent to one of the sides here. It's kitty corner or diagonal, and that is not sufficient. So it needs to be touching one of your other pieces. And what you're trying to do is you're trying to enclose different spaces where you have these scarabs in there. And the biggest space that you can score enclose here is 4 spaces. So if I were to enclose a space that was bigger than 4 in these scarabs, so if I closed this off here and had something closed off here, that would be 5 spaces, and those would not score any points. However, let's say I place, let's see here. Let's assume that I played the first piece there just for kicks and giggles and for scoring. So I can play it here because it's adjacent to that one. And then you immediately will place scoring tiles on the scarabs as you've completed a space. So this one is enclosed by the mountain, and it will be enclosed by any mountain terrains, the outside edge of the board, or any of your pieces. So as you can see here, I've enclosed this space completely, and it has 1, 2, 3 spaces in it. So I would go ahead and find the 3 scarab victory point marker, and I would put a 3 on both of those. So I will have 6 points at the end of the game for that move that I did there. So, and that's basically the game. You're going to continue going. You'll flip over another one, and you'll continue placing these tiles on the board. Again, it has to touch. You can't place it anywhere you just want. It needs to touch at least one of the sides as you move forward. Okay? It can't hang over the edge or anything like that. Everything needs to stay on the board. And you keep playing until everyone, you've gone through all of the 12 cards. Now, it's very likely that you're not going to be able to actually play all of your tiles. So, for example, this last game that we played, I'm going to show you just some of the arrangements. Okay, so here's one of the arrangements that we had of how their tiles laid out. And as you can see, they were not able to play this was the very last card, the last piece there. So you can see some examples of the different spaces here. Okay, so I believe this one scored, I think, 20 points total. And so it's interesting because, again, we're all playing with the same cards or the same tiles, but we all make decisions just a little bit differently, and that makes our next choices with the next tile, again, different variations. So it's very interesting to see all the different layouts that come about. So this was, I think, my daughter's board, and she scored 25 points for this. And she started out, she had a lot of 4s down here. Really nice layout. I ended up winning this one. I think this was 40 some points. I can't remember exactly what it was. But you can see another layout here. And I also could not have room for that last piece. So as you can see, as I mentioned, it's 1 to 4 players. And that is really because it's like we're all, even with 4 players, you're playing it. There's not any player interaction with the other players. So if that's something that you like in a game, I don't know if this will be your type of game or not, because this is a very kind of singular solo type game that you're playing with other people. It reminds me, there's a lot of other games out there, and I find them to be lots and lots of fun. And there's kind of this interaction with it's the social element, and then that kind of final comparing what you did and what your choices were to the other players. And I do find that enjoyable. I had that similar feel, I guess, as Dominion. Even Dominion has more player interaction in the base game when it first came out than Scarabya, of course. But in essence, you're still kind of doing your own thing. So very much so that style of game, but very, very well done. The rule book and everything, the components, the production quality, just really, really well done. As you can see here, this is the English rules, is just these 2 pages here, because the game is really, really quite simple. But really interesting decisions and a lot of variability within the game, as you have the different layout of the 4 initial kind of layout tiles, ground tiles here, and then the order of these cards as they come up. But yeah, it is really, really fun. It's a really fun puzzle to look at and trying to work and enclose these different spaces, and sometimes you need to make some sacrifices, and you may need to cover up some of the scarabs, and you're like, oh man, I want to place this here to do this, but then I'm going to be covering 2 of those up. I'm not going to score any points for those at the end of the game. So some really interesting choices. And again, Blue-Orange, great production quality on this. Really, really enjoy Scarabya. And that is how Lou sees it.